you are listening to NPE Stories. This is a podcast where NPEs can share their story. I'm your host, Lily. NPE is a term that stands for Not Parent Expected or Non-Paternity Event. This means that one or more of our parents are not who we believed them to be. NPE Stories is a podcast where NPEs can share their story of what their original family was like, how they found out they were an NPE, and what their journey has been like since the day they found out. Welcome to episode 4, where today we will hear from Jill. Hi, Jill.
Hi, Lily.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, no problem.
So let's start off from the very beginning. Let me know what your family was like growing up.
Okay. Well, my family life was, I was raised by my grandparents, along with my older sister, who's 4 years older than me. I had 2 younger brothers that was with us as well. They are each a year younger than me, so we're all stair-step kids, the 3 of us. There was also 2 cousins, our first cousins that was raised with us in the house as well. So there were 6 of us. I don't really remember living with my parents because we were young. I think I was about 4 when we moved next door to my grandparents' home. I remember bits and pieces of being with my mother, but never really my father in the home itself. My sister remembers living with my mother and father together, but when, while married, but we don't. The 3 of us don't really, because we were always living with our grandparents. That's all we know. Like I said, there were 6 of us. They moved to a bigger home, moved us all. We all, we didn't do without anything, but and that's where we all remained until we graduated high school and left home. That's my life. My parents would come and visit. My mother was on drugs and in and out of jail. My father moved to California. He would come see us, once a year, maybe twice a year, but he never lived with us, or he never tried to come get us, to take care of us. So we've always lived with our grandparents. That's all we know.
Oh, wow.
Basically, that's how I grew up.
Okay.
That's my life in a nutshell.
Yeah. So you were raised by your grandparents.
My paternal grandparents, yes.
Your paternal grandparents. Okay.
Yes.
And a lot of kids.
Yeah, there were 6 of us. Like I said, my older sister, and then my 2 younger brothers, that's 4, and then there were 2 cousins. So we were like the Brady Bunch, 3 girls, 3 boys.
Oh, wow.
And we all remained there until we graduated high school.
Okay. And then tell me more. What happens after that?
And growing up in the home, I was singled out by my grandmother. I was treated differently. I knew it. Others knew it. She just didn't. There was something about I never did get it. I just didn't get it. And I remember I was like 10 or so, and I cried to my grandfather, and he'd tell me, just stay away from her. She's just jealous because you're pretty. I would think, okay, but I'm 10. I knew early on that there was a difference being made, and it was just me. There was no other difference with the other kids. It was just me. And that's our relationship was just so for as long as I can remember, until she passed away. It was just so.
That sounds very difficult.
It was growing up knowing, my friends knew it, my mother knew it, but she pretended that she didn't, because she really couldn't do anything about it. She was on, like I said, she was on drugs and in and out of prison and jail, and, that whole nonsense. And so she really couldn't do anything about it. And I think she just kind of blocked it out. My father pretended that he said he didn't know, but he was never around. He lived in California. Maybe he didn't. But he kind of added fuel to the fire when I was in my teenage years. Like my sister, I never got along with. She's 4 years older than me. She used to always tease me, telling my dad was the milkman. She was just like that. We were like oil and water. So she would always lie and tell these things. And so I never got along with my grandmother, my father, or her, which made it my teenage life pretty much hell. It really was. My grandfather passed away 5 days before I turned 17. And then it went from bad to worse. It went the very next day. I knew it. I knew I was going to be fair game, and that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. And so it was a nightmare from, I mean, it was already bad, but from 16 on, it just, it was just miserable. It was absolutely miserable for me. But I knew
Oh,
my grandmother didn't care for me much. I knew she treated me different. I knew something was wrong. I don't know what. I just thought she didn't like me. I as a kid, what do you know? I just thought she didn't like me. But as I got older, I knew it was something because I couldn't get along with my dad. I couldn't get along with her.
you knew something wasn't right. And
Yeah.
sounds like they were treating you differently, maybe definitely worse than what you deserved.
Oh,
And
it was bad. it was miserable. I remember not crying at my grandfather's funeral. Everybody in there was I in my head, and I know this is selfish, but all I thought was, God, I'm going to be alone with this woman. The older three have already left the home. So it was just, I was the oldest at that point, and then my two younger brothers. And I just knew I'm fair game to her at this point, from this day on. And that's exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened to me. I was fair game, and she let me have it. She really did. And I won't say beatings or anything. Mentally, she let me have it. It went from 0 to 60. It really did.
that sounds horrible. I'm
Yeah.
sorry for you.
Oh no, I mean, adding my sister, who was the biggest liar on the planet at the time, you know,
Yeah.
and my dad, I really didn't get along with him. It was, it was, it was miserable. I remember they showed up to my graduation. They didn't want to, but they were there. Nobody took a picture. Nobody really said it. It ain't funny. It's not funny. But it was really thinking about it now. It was miserable. It was like, and I remember saying to myself, if I ever had a kid, this is never, ever, ever going to happen to them, ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's just how I lived in that house
God, I'm
from,
sorry.
not, but what's crazy is I could not put my finger on what this is. What is the basis of this? Why is it like this? Like I said, my sister used to tease me when we were kids and say my dad was the milkman. She really did. And she claimed she didn't know, but in hindsight, she might have heard something or mumble of something, or there was even an uncle, like my mother's uncle. So he was my great uncle. And the agreement, he would only come get me, like no other kid in that house, just me. And this went on for years. And he would make sure I had things for school. It, he bought me my first car. I mean, it was crazy. And I think back on that stuff now and go, this was insane. It was, and if I would have had the sense to put it all together, maybe I would have done it before 50. All these years, I'm 51 now. I found out all this information when I was, about being an NPE when I was 50. But after I had my daughter, about 23 years old, and my father hadn't met her. He didn't meet her till she was 11. In my head, I thought, he can't possibly be my father because there's just no way, because she hates my gut. This woman hates my guts. I don't get along with him. I feel off. This doesn't feel right. There's something wrong. There is something wrong. And I knew it from a young age, like 12. This is not right. This is weird. And I feel out of place. And I felt out of place my whole entire life. I always say it was maybe like if a kid was adopted and they didn't know they were adopted, but they felt out of place, out of pocket in some kind of way. That's how I, that's how I felt. That's how my whole life. And I remember just keeping it to myself because I was pretty much labeled the black sheep, or she don't care about family, or, I kind of set myself back from everything, like looking from the outside in. And so it's not like I wasn't family oriented. I just stayed out of the drama and set myself on the outside just to stay sane, just to stay sane. I kept it to myself because I knew if I ever said anything like, I don't think Dad's my dad, it would have snowballed into, I thought life was hard, just regular life stuff. But add that onto it, it would have just been a nightmare. So I kept it to myself, kept my thoughts to myself. I never told anybody. My daughter's father, I might have mentioned it to him, but I never told anybody else.
You never told anyone, but you always felt different.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I was on the outside of this family looking in, like something was not clicking with me. Like me and my brothers are really, really tight, but everybody else, I just felt like I didn't fit. For some reason, I didn't fit.
How did you find out you were an NPE?
My brother was one of my younger brothers was going through something similar, and he was confiding in me and the other brother, and, we were on three-way and we were talking and, we were talking through this. And finally I said, you know what? I said, I don't think Dad's my dad. And I thought they would be mad and hate me, and they didn't. They were just like, why you feel that way? I said, because Grandma hated my guts. She just hated me. Just hated me. And I said, I just don't feel it. I don't. And I never, ever have. And so I told the brother, I said, I want to do a DNA test. I told them. And they said, do it. I mean, there were things that happened to you that was different from us. I mean, you did not have the same experience in that house. And so they encouraged me to do it. And for my 50th birthday, they bought me the kit. Sent it to me here in Oregon, and I did it. And February 19th, I opened the email, and and I'm all excited, and I'm looking at my ethnicity, and then I clicked on matches. And on the matches side, it had these two people with the same last name and above my brother's name. So not knowing what that was, I had his password to his ancestry. So I went on to his and looked, and they weren't on his. The nail in the coffin to me was there's a cousin we grew up with that was raised in the house. She was on his, but not on mine. And our fathers were brothers. So I knew then that I wasn't. So that same day, I emailed the first person, which was just initials and a last name. I emailed that first person, and I said simply, I gave her my name, told her where I was born and raised. You came up on my ancestry. I don't know how we're related. I have no idea. And I said, maybe you could help me out. I think by 10 o'clock that night, I found out in 12 hours. 10 o'clock that night, she had emailed me back because I was showing my daughter. She got home from work and I was showing her all the stuff. And she said, you got an email. And the woman, which was insane, she tells me her name. She says she's my aunt from my father's side. My father's her younger brother, so-and-so. And he met my mother when he was in the military station. And my mother had an affair with this man because she was married to my father. And so she's telling me all that. I mean, she hit me in the first paragraph. I was dumbfounded. I knew, but hearing it from somebody else, it kind of throws you into a tailspin, And I remember laughing and crying and laughing because I said I knew it. And in my head, I'm thinking, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I've known it for 40 years. I've known it since I was a child. I just knew it. And she told me all this stuff, and I called. She left all her phone numbers. I called her. She happened to be the one person in that family that was looking for me this entire time. And that's who I contacted. That's who I emailed. And she said she'd been waiting for this moment. And in my head, like, they knew about me? Wait a minute. Wait a second. You don't know how to feel. You go through so many like I said, I laughed. I cried, called my brothers, and I told them, you know, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, I knew, but to hear it from somebody else is something totally different. And so that's how I found out. I had to call my mother the next day. My brothers told me to wait till I saw her in person. I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So I called her the next day. And I didn't tell her about the DNA test. What I did say was I asked her who so-and-so was, gave the full name. She got super quiet. She got ready to start lying to me. She said, Jill, who told you? And I said, Mom, look, before you start lying to me, before you start, going down that road, I told her about the DNA test. I told her what the woman had told me, which was ended up being my aunt. I told her what she said. And I said, all I need you to tell me is what this lady's telling me true. That's all. I'm gonna let you off easy with a yes or no. She got real quiet. I said, come on, Mom, you've been holding on to this for 50 years. Free yourself. I told her to free herself. I said, I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at him. I'm not mad at anybody. I just knew I wasn't crazy. But I need you to tell me the truth. And she said, yeah. She just, this is somebody who's been on drugs, who's still on drugs, mind you. Fessing up. I mean, I freed her. I pretty much freed her. And I had to find out on my own. And she told me she was going to take it to her grave. She was never going to tell me. And I found out on my own because I needed to know. I needed to know that I was not making this stuff up in my head. I just knew what I felt. I knew what my soul was telling me. And that's how I found out.
You weren't going crazy. What you felt was real. And you knew it all along, and you finally got it validated. I'm glad I'm glad at least she was honest with you in the end.
She didn't have a choice. I didn't let her, I said, come on, Mom. I think what helped was I said, I'm not mad. I'm not going to be mad. I said, I'm 50. It's not like I'm 12, I'm not going to be upset with anybody. I just need to know the truth. And first thing out of her mouth was, why do you want to know? Because of the way my grandmother treated me. And I said, absolutely. If you're asking that question, then you know why. If you're asking me that question, then you know exactly. It's almost like the floodgate open. Like the family, the family I belong to, I'm not one to talk on the phone. I mean, my phone never stopped ringing for like weeks. And Facebook, people were, friending me on Facebook. It was it was nonstop for weeks. I think 3 days later, my father called me. My biological father called me. And he says, I guess you was waiting for this phone call. And I said, absolutely. Actually, I wasn't, but I knew there was something wrong, and I knew I didn't belong somewhere, like one of these pieces didn't fit. And he just told me everything. Everything my mother wouldn't tell me, he told me. He had no problems telling me. He said, I knew she didn't tell me that she was pregnant, but I kind of guessed that she was. I guess she had written some letter to his parents because he got sent to Vietnam. And so she really didn't tell him, but he said, you weren't a secret. I told everybody I possibly have this daughter out there. I've told my kids known it from a very young age. My family knew it. Like, they all knew about me. I just didn't know. And I think they were just waiting for me to find them.
Oh.
And that's exactly what I did.
Oh.
Yeah, they said they didn't want to disrupt my mother's married life back in the day, back in the 60s. Back then, 60s was a bit much. You go through so many emotions. I'm just glad it turned out the way that it did.
You're in touch with your birth father. And
Absolutely.
How is that relationship going?
It's good. I just went in April and spent 3 weeks with him. He just moved to back to Phoenix. He was going through a divorce. And I went and spent 3 weeks with him and met a brother and 2 sisters and 2 nieces while I was there. what's crazy is I say, is that funny? I say I woke up, I went to bed one night and I had 4 brothers and sisters, and I woke up one morning and I had 10.
Oh,
So that's how that's how I put it. I said I went to bed with 4, but I woke up with 10. And so, and it's a huge family. It's like my family that I was raised with, super small, but there are tons of them. There are tons of cousins, and it's crazy. So I spent 3 weeks with him, which was good, which was really good. I got, like I said, I got to meet the last of the sisters and that brother. They were also welcoming. It's been crazy. I got an aunt that I look exactly like her. Like it's crazy. We have the same birthmark. It's crazy. I look just like his sister, which is insane. But
wow.
it's been, like you read some stories that things aren't going so well, but I've been blessed. I've been blessed with a good ending.
Oh, thank goodness. I love when I can hear that, because not every NPE has that sort of story, and so I'm happy that for you.
And it like I said, he called right away. My aunt made it seem like, it's going to take a minute. I'm going to have to call him, but I'm going to wait till Friday. Something happened where it had to get bumped up a few days, but he called and he was like, he was really cool about it. Nope, you are my firstborn. I know you're my firstborn. It's it was crazy. I didn't even know how to react because, like I said, I'm not a big talker on the phone and all this and that, but wow, it's been good. It's been really good.
Good.
Yeah.
And have you had a chance to talk with your birth certificate father about this?
I have. I called him. I waited because we don't have the best relationship.
Yes, he didn't raise you.
It got really bad. It was bad over the years. And then, my father-in-law would get on me about making things right, blah, blah. So I did. And then last October, it took a turn. It went back to the normal way. So I waited a couple weeks, about a week. And then I called him and I told him about, the ancestry thing. And I said, well, and I asked him, did he know? And at first he said no. And I said, come on, Dad, I'm 50. Come on. And he said, well, of course I knew, but you're still my daughter. Yeah, but you were horrible to me too. I didn't say that, but
yeah.
I confronted everybody. I didn't, my mother was like, well, why don't you just get a billboard? You're just going to tell everybody. I said, you know what? This is my story. Y'all started all this. This is your problem now. This is my story though, and it's going to have a good ending. And it did. And it did.
Yeah.
I hide nothing else for you anymore. And you shouldn't want to hide either. I mean, God, you've been holding on it, Mom, for so long.
Yeah. Enough with the secrets. Let the secrets out.
Exactly. And I felt so good. It felt like I was free. Like I was free. I was free from this prison that this box my grandmother put me in,
Yeah.
And I kept myself there because I didn't know anything else.
You were not imagining that you were being treated poorly, and it sounds like your grandmother always suspected that.
She knew.
She knew. Yeah. Okay.
I know. I know she did. I'm telling you, I was singled out of 6 kids. She knew it. She didn't like my mother at all. At all. Matter of fact, she didn't like my father either. I think she was mad that they dumped these kids in her lap, and one of them don't even belong to her. Period. You know what I mean? Like, one of them don't belong to her. Period. And she held on to that till the day she left this earth. I'm telling you. I went to see her in the rest home when she was, she still had her fat. She knew everybody else in that room. And I was standing up against the wall. She said, now, who are you? And I thought, you know what, lady? You are going to go down you are going down. You just going to go all out with it. And I kind of laughed when I watched it. I said, boy, she just won't stop. She just will not quit. And I just was like, yeah, she knew. She knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, she knew. And my grandfather probably knew too, but he was the most loving person ever. And he just didn't care. It just didn't matter to him. You know, they didn't split us up. So I am grateful. I'm grateful because I could have had a much different life, you know,
Yeah.
if they would have just said, we're not taking that one, because she don't belong to us. But that's not what happened.
So you have known you were an NPE now for, it sounds like quite a while. Has it been over?
Since February of last year.
So like a year and a half.
Yeah. Year and a half.
So have things gotten better?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I can breathe. Internally, yeah. I mean, like there are some my brothers and sisters that I was raised with they all were good with it. All of them were good with it. And my sister is never good with anything, but she was good. Everybody's been good with it. I have I never had a female in my family ever in 50 years that I could just talk to, that could tell me things about anything. I was never taught a whole lot of stuff. I left home not knowing how to do laundry, for God's sake. I mean, because I never stayed around my grandmother long enough. She wouldn't teach me anyway. You know what I'm saying? So I left home not knowing a whole lot of things, but now I have this aunt that I can talk to about anything.
Mm.
And she's just, I've never had that. I talked to my father, but it's nothing like having a female in your family that you can talk to.
Yeah.
And I've never had that, but I have that now. I have a daughter. My daughter's 27 years old, and she's so easygoing. She's just, to her, this is great. She just knows her mom is different. Like she knows her mom is, and I keep saying she's free. Like I'm gonna be all right. I'm not that bald-headed stepchild. I'm not that,
Yeah.
you think of Cinderella and how she was treated. Not saying I'm Cinderella, but I'm just saying the dynamics of it all.
Yeah.
I'm not that person.
Wow.
I'm not that person anymore. So that's good.
Thank goodness for that.
Absolutely.
And if people want to hear more from you and get in touch with you, is there a way that they can do that?
Yes, I will give my email address is JILLYN Harris HARRIS 67 at Gmail.
Thank you. Thanks again to Jill for sharing today. These stories mean so much to us because these stories, we all identify with them. If you are an NPE that would like to share your story, email npestories@gmail.com. And you do not have to give any identifying information. And I'd like to hear from you. And subscribe to this podcast to hear more. Come heal with us.